Commanders hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. I kind of hinted at this yesterday, but this was a topic that I've been meaning to get to for a little while now. Not too long, but it's something that I've given some thought to, and it's a great place to be mentally as a fan, and I want to share it with you guys. And I want to know if you guys feel the same way. So, one of the biggest mental developments I've had as a fan here over the last 4 weeks, really since the Cincinnati game, but it kind of goes all the way back to this organizational recalibration, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. Starting with the ownership change, then getting one of the best GMs, I think, in the league, and Adam Peters, and kind of changing the culture of this building. Then hiring Dan Quinn, the staff that they were able to assemble, and then the things that they've done thereafter. Every step feels like the right step. And you could argue about this not getting done, or they could have done more here or there. And that's all fine and dandy. And I'm not going to argue with anyone that thinks the team could have done more in certain situations, or in spots where maybe we don't have as much talent right now. But I've said this a million times. You can't fix everything in one offseason. We needed a lot of work done after the 4-13 nightmare that was 2023. There was a ton that needed to be done to this roster, and they did a lot without overspending, without exerting themselves financially. I thought they put us in a really good spot next year to kind of assess where we were after this first year of DQ, Adam Peters and company, and then really be able to assess, all right, what is it that we actually need, and then start going full bore. It just turned out that we got to the party maybe a year earlier than expected, maybe 2 years earlier. Who really anticipated this? Some people will say, yeah, I saw this coming. No, you didn't. Stop it. Nobody saw this level of play coming this soon, okay? Even if you thought we had a chance to be good this season, you didn't see what has happened in the first 6 weeks of this season happening. Not to this extent. We haven't scored over 38 points in back-to-back games since 1991. You didn't see that coming. Stop it. Stop it. Okay? At the end of the day, here's the thing that has struck me as most jarring mentally for me, in a good way. This is the best thing that has happened to me mentally as a fan since the rebuild, recalibration of this organization top to bottom. You remove that from the equation, and this is the best thing that has happened to me mentally. Expectations have changed drastically, significantly for me. And I haven't been able to say that as a fan in forever. Maybe never in my lifetime. My expectations are through the roof. Things like superstition have been superseded by my expectations for this team. There are little idiosyncrasies in my daily life when I'm doing things to set up artwork and just little dumb stuff that I do. And I'm like, well, you know what? We won last week. So I don't want to change what I did last week, because maybe, just maybe, we'll win again this week if I don't change any of that stuff. And I'm not like this overly superstitious person. Don't split the pole, don't step on the crack, that kind of stuff, like I was when I was a kid. But there are little things that I do that I go, you know what? We won last week, so I'm just not going to change it this week. Just going to leave it alone, right? Mentally, because the expectations have changed, I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't care about, well, we won last week and I did it this way, so I'm going to do it again this way. Because we won last week and maybe we'll win again. Or, you know what? I'm not going to say this out loud because I don't want to jinx it. I am so far removed from being afraid of success or being afraid of tampering the success by doing something that may offset it. When you got one of them ones, when you have a well-run organization, when your outfit is together and it matches, you don't have to worry about the little idiosyncrasies. And I wonder if this is going to happen. I got confidence in my team that I haven't had ever. I'm not picking against the Commanders to lose the rest of this season until we get to the playoffs. Yes, I used the P word. I won't do it too many more times, I promise. Not yet, at least. But I'm not going to pick against this team until we start playing bonus football. That's how confident I am in this team. My expectations have changed. I went into that Ravens game fully expecting to go into Baltimore, into M&T Bank Stadium, and come out with a dub. That was my expectation. When's the last time you expected to go against a team like that who had been playing hot football, who had been winners of 3 straight, who had been doing the things that the Ravens had done this season, and expect to win the game? When's the last time you felt that confident in the team? And not all of you thought we were going to win that game. And that's okay. But for the ones that did, when's the last time you felt that level of confidence? You know how many times I've had to tell fans, hey, stop looking, over the next 4 to 6 weeks of the season and trying to compile a record for this team. Just take it one game at a time, because they're so excited because the expectations have changed. We went into this season like, hey, let's just make some headway. We didn't win a game in the division last year. Let's just try to split with every team in the division. If we can sweep the Giants, that'd be great. But hey, if we could just go 3-3 in the division, hey, that's a positive. Expectations have changed significantly. We're looking at the division and saying, hey, no less than 4-2. I really want 5-1. And if I can get it, man, let's strive for 6-0 in the division. Why not? Before the season started, hey, we know Dallas and Philadelphia are still ahead of us. But I said, hey, the gap is closing. I can see them through my front windshield, and they can see us through their rearview mirror. They see us coming up. But we're not there yet. But guess what? Once upon a time, just last year, they couldn't see us in their rear view, and we couldn't see them through our front windshield. They were so far ahead of us, those two teams were. I said, before the season started, that gap is closed, and I can see you through my front windshield. I can see you, and we're approaching vastly. Now we're looking through the rear view mirror. Expectations have changed. We are supposed to win this division now. That's the thought process. That's the mindset. Expectations have changed. And you know what is so fascinating about mental psyche and expectations? It's not just ours that have changed. Listen to this, and we're going to talk about this division here in a bit, but the Cowboys are a defeated franchise right now. Their fan base, I've never seen their fan base in this state before. In terms, like, you got to go back a ways. You got to go to the Dave Campo era to see Cowboys fans feeling this kind of distraught about their situation. Right? The post Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith era, when they were trying to figure out what their identity was and they were going through it. They're not there yet. They still have talent. They're not that bad. They got a quarterback. They got stuff. It's just not well coached, and the organization, you could argue, is being run at its worst efficiency now than ever before. And Cowboys fans are feeling it, man. They're going through it, and I loved every second of it. They don't expect to win this division. They're hoping that they can somehow piece together a good enough season to just make the playoffs. Their expectations have changed. You want me to tell you who else's expectations have changed? The Eagles. That's right. I was talking to L.B. I'm going to share this conversation with you guys. We were texting. I texted him after, well, our game was almost over and their game it wasn't over, but it was pretty much over. And I might have already shared this with you guys, but I'm going to share the whole exchange with you. So let me give you proper context here. The week prior, when the Eagles were on a bye week, I text LB, did you enjoy the show? We were in the midst of destroying Cleveland, and Jayden Daniels was done for the day. And there was 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We had just possessed the football, and he was done, meaning he didn't play the entire fourth quarter. And I asked him, did you enjoy the show? And he said, against the Browns? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark. As if to say, it's the Browns, bro. Everybody's doing this to the Browns. You want some points for that? I'm like, oh, really? I said, okay, bet. You can't do it to them. And I said this to him, everybody in the division is passed the Browns around. Even the Giants got their shit off against the Browns and won by 2 scores. Everybody in the division passed the Browns around. What you gonna do fresh off of a bye with all your shit back? And he said, we gonna do what everybody else has done to him. We gonna pass him around too, right? So much so that he felt the need to go on social media and tweet out the exact same thing. The rest of the division passed the Browns around. We need to do the same thing, right? So then we get to texting and he's like, if we can't blow out the Browns, we're doomed. If we can't blow out the Browns, we're doomed. I just laughed. I didn't say anything. Because I expected them, when it was all said and done, to probably win by two scores or more. I thought it'd be a close game early and then they'd pull away, right? So I didn't say anything because I thought they'd take care of business. So fast forward to Sunday. We're in the final stages of losing to the Ravens. They're taking knees at this point. Lamar just got that last first down, and so the game's over. They're about to take knees, and I'm watching the Eagles, and they just barely got away. It's 20-16. They just completed a deep ball to A.J. Brown to put the game away, and they're going to take victory knees. And I just tweeted out, or I just texted him a bunch of laughing emojis. I didn't say anything. I just texted him a bunch of and he knew what that meant. He knew what it meant. He got mad and he was like, y'all about to lose. And I'm like, I text him back, we already lost. But that's not the point. We played the Ravens today and we lost by a touchdown. And I'm not looking for any pats on the back. We lost. We're still in first place. But I vividly remember a conversation that I had with you last week where you said, if we don't blow out the Browns, we're doomed. And now you're sitting here trying to justify a 4-point win over the Cleveland Browns, who stink. And he said, I'm on to the Giants. We won, right? And so I say that, and I said this to him, and this really pissed him off, and he didn't say nothing else the rest of the day. He hasn't said anything. He didn't say anything for like 36 hours in the text chain after this. I think I hurt his feelings. I said, we run this shit. Expectations have changed. He said to me in the text message before, he said that we won, I'm on to the Giants. He said, you didn't even expect to win today. I said, you're wrong. I said, that's where you're wrong. I had to hit him with a Jay-Z line. That's where you're wrong. I expected to win today, and you expected a blowout today. You didn't get your blowout. I didn't get my win. But expectations have changed. We run this shit. And I said, not only have my expectations changed, looks like so have yours. You expected a blowout, and now you're content with a 4-point victory over the Browns. Looks like your expectations have changed too. He ain't say shit else after that. That one got under his skin. But it just goes to show you that the shift in power, the balance in power is shifting in this division. My expectations are a microcosm of the expectation of this team, which is to win every single game. They didn't go to Baltimore looking for a moral victory. They went there to win, and they just came up short, and we weren't good enough. But it wasn't a lack of effort. It wasn't a lack of game planning. They were prepared. They just were better than us. And there's no shame in that. But the fact that it was a 7-point defeat, I went in fully expecting to win. No ifs, ands, buts about it. No equivocations. I fully expect, and in years past, you know what? I respect the hell out of the Carolina Panthers, and I watched their game against the Atlanta Falcons, and I said, this is a dangerous Carolina team, and I'm gonna treat them just like I did Arizona, just like I did Cleveland, and I'm gonna tell you all the reasons why they can come in here and make shit tough on us if we don't take care of business and bring forth our A game. You're gonna get that from me all week long because that's how I treat every opponent. Which is the way they treat every opponent, which is the way you should treat every NFL opponent. No matter how bad they've played to this point, any given Sunday is what they say, and that shit is true, and we know it because we've been a part of some any given Sunday wins over the last decade where our team was clearly not better than the opponent, and somehow we managed to win anyway. So I never allowed the records to influence how I feel about a team. They get the same respect that everybody else gets. We got to come with our best shit or we won't get it done. But don't think for 1 second, I'm not looking at Carolina, licking my chops and saying, hey, if we don't mop these clowns up, and in past years, with this type of success early, you know what the mantra would have been. You know what the rallying cry would have been this week. Oh, I hope we don't have a letdown at home against Carolina. Oh, my God. I'm so afraid this feels like a trap game. We got the Bears next week. They could be looking forward to the Bears. Bullshit. Expectations have changed. My mentality has shifted. The focus is on Carolina. No one gets a pass. There is no slip and slide. If you consider yourself one of the better teams in the league, I do. I think we're one of the better teams in the league. You know what the Chiefs don't do? And we're not the Chiefs, clearly, right? You know what they don't do? They don't go home and let an inferior team get them. They don't. It isn't always pretty, but most of the time, they go home against a team that has no shot, and they make sure that team has no shot. I don't know if we're at that level yet. We'll see. We've taken care of business against the Cardinals, against the Browns so far, teams that I felt like we were better than, and we looked better than them, and it wasn't close. This is another one of those opportunities. We'll see if we take advantage of it, but I fully expect to do that because expectations have changed. The balance of power in the NFC East is shifting. The expectations of the teams in this division have changed. We now feel like the alpha. We now think like the alpha. The Cowboys are starting to feel demoralized. They're starting to feel like a third wheel. They don't belong in the conversation. It's feeling like a two-team race for the division crown between us and Philadelphia. And even the Eagles are starting to doubt themselves. Again, you got their head coach fussing at fans, getting into it with fans. That ain't a good look. But Eagles fans don't stand for bullshit, and that game on Sunday against the Browns was bullshit. And if Nick Sirianni thinks they're going to settle for that, a 4-point win over a team that they know they're better than because the rest of the league has already run through Cleveland like a $2 whore. And they couldn't do it? Off a bye with all your stuff back? And now Jordan Mailata is out for the probably next 2-3 weeks with a hamstring injury? You think shit is about to get better? Shit's changing. Expectations are changing. They were okay with a 4-point win. I love it. Did you see the Jayden Daniels effect? in full motion again, I told you, we going to be flexed around. Don't make plans. Don't buy tickets in advance because the shit is different. It's the Jayden Daniels effect. Did you see we got flexed? Flex. We're now playing at 425 in week 8 against the Chicago Bears. Of course, they want that game. Of course, CBS wants that game. Of course, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo want to call that game with the two rookie quarterbacks squaring off. The Bears are guaranteed to be 4-2, and we might be 5-2 if we take care of business versus Carolina. Of course, they want that game. So that's now a 425 game. Chiefs and Raiders are also at 425. And Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, who usually chomp at the bit to get their hands on any Patrick Mahomes Chiefs game they can, let us get the young fellas. Eagles and Bengals were 425. You go to 1 o'clock. Let's move you around. You go to 1 o'clock. No one's worried about you guys. Let's see these young boys in action. Expectations have changed. Shit's shifting around. The balance of power in this division, it's moving. And it's moving in the good guys' favor. I know you see it. I can't speak for you, but I am going to ask you guys, if you're out there, have your expectations changed as well? Mine shifted in week 3 after that performance against Cincinnati. I told you in that moment, everything's changed. And had we beat Baltimore, everything would have changed again, but we didn't win that game. There's a cap on what this team can do this season. And Baltimore clearly showed that. There's a cap on what this team is capable of, at least as of right now. But do you really expect this defense to change over the next 10 weeks? Significantly enough to the point where you think we can win something of note? Probably not. But we're sure as hell going to give it a run. Why not? Doesn't hurt to try. But you got to get there first. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow when we start turning our attention to Carolina. But I just wanted you guys to know expectations have changed, and not just our expectations, not just my expectations, but the expectations of the other teams in the division. I don't even bring up the Giants because they don't factor into this discussion. And Giants fans get upset sometimes when I leave them out of these discussions. But until they get a quarterback, until they're able to score more than 7 points on a national stage, I can't even bring myself to put them in this conversation. They got the best defense in the division and arguably the worst offense in football. Like, it's hard for me. And again, they get Malik Neighbors back, that changes. So I don't want to be too hard on them because their best player on their team has been out the last 2 weeks, and they found a way to win 1 week without him, and unfortunately they weren't able to do it without him the next. And so he comes back. It does change their fortunes, but how much? I mean, he played in the Dallas game. They scored 15 points. He played against us. They scored 18 points. He played in the week 1 game against the Vikings, and I don't like bringing up week 1. Week 1's tough, but you get my point. It's the same argument I have for Cowboys fans that want to talk about, we got all these injuries and, we didn't have Michael Parsons and Tank Lawrence. You had all those guys in week 2 against New Orleans. What happened then? What's your excuse then? Like, stop. Come on, man. Cut it out. So I love it. I love where we are. I love how the expectations have changed. And you tell me, have your expectations changed? Leave it down in the comment section. We go to In Other News, and I want to talk about some of the trades that have been made and where does that leave Washington really quickly. I told you I didn't see us making a deal for a receiver. And obviously the big news of the day, both Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams have both been traded. Those were probably the top 2 targets for most Commanders fans. And I said, the receiver position isn't the issue here. Like, we don't have a wide receiver problem right now. Doesn't mean it doesn't need an upgrade, but we didn't need to go out and do what we saw teams do today. Buffalo made a pick swap that involved the 3rd round pick. I don't want any of my first 2 days picks being touched. You want to talk about a day 3 pick? I'm listening. I'm all ears. Don't want you touching none of my first 2-day picks. They're off limits. That's how you strengthen your team. That's how you better your situation. Those first 3 rounds are gold. I'm not trading away one of my golden assets. Right? Not doing that. You want to talk about a day 3 pick? So the the Jets traded for Davante Adams. They traded a conditional 3rd that can turn into a 2nd based on performance. I'm not interested. Sorry. Not interested. And they're picking up his full salary. So that means this year and next year as well. I'm good. I'll pass. Let him go with his old buddy. And I told you that was going to happen. Let him go with his old buddy and see if they can't rekindle the magic. Amari Cooper. Now, this is a more impactful trade. The Bills can actually win the Super Bowl now, getting a guy like Amari Cooper, because that's what they were missing, right? That's the missing piece. And so that's a big trade for them. And they did a pick swap involving a 3rd round selection. So we'll see how that goes, right? So those 2 are off the market. Now, the interesting, dynamic here, if you were really still interested in getting a receiver, is Mike Williams has to go somewhere. There's no room for him now. With Alan Lazard, who's Aaron Rodgers' boy. Obviously, Garrett Wilson still there, who's probably going to benefit from this trade the most of anyone. And now Davante Adams. There's no room for Mike Williams, who already wasn't getting a ton of opportunities before the trade. They're going to look to move him. And you probably could get him on the cheap. Honestly speaking, they want to get rid of this guy. And they'll probably take a cold, hot ham and cheese sandwich for him. Now, here's the issue. Man signed a 1-year, $14 million deal. He's probably still due every bit of $8 million the rest of this season. It's got to be less than that because he was making less than $1 million a game, right? Obviously, there's 17 games. There's 18 weeks. 6 games have elapsed. So we're going into week 7. He's probably got every bit of, what did I say, week 7. So he's probably got 8, but I think that's about right now. $8 million left on his contract. 8, 7.5, something like that. You're going to have to eat that, which is not a problem for us. It's a 1-year deal. He comes off the books after the season. If you were interested, if we didn't have Noah Brown, I'd be interested in a Mike Williams. But we got Noah Brown. Like, I guess there's still, a space where a guy like Mike Williams could help, but I'm not interested. I've already told you who I'm really interested in. And that's Hassan Reddick. And the Jets, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but the Jets have told him he's gotten new representation. And him and his representation, that there's a small window that they're willing to deal with other teams to trade him. So he needs to get busy to find a trade. My question continues to be, what exactly are you looking for, man? Because no team is going to trade for this dude knowing that the reason that he wanted out of Philly and has not played a single snap this season is because he wants to be paid. So you can't trade for this dude and there not be a deal already in place. So what are you looking for? Because I'm interested in a 2-year deal. I'm not interested in a 3-year deal. He probably wants a 3-year deal. Wants a lot of guaranteed money. Probably wants to be paid like one of the best pass rushers, because if we're being honest, he has been one of the better pass rushers over the last 5 years. So he wants to be paid like it. That's a conversation for his agent and the team that is going to trade for him. I'm interested, but again, I'm not willing to give the Jets too much for him. And what I'm hearing, and I don't know how true this is, I don't really believe Josina Anderson all that much. I take everything she says with a grain of salt, but she says she's hearing that one of the stipulations of the deal with the Eagles, remember, it felt like the Eagles just gave him away, right? And maybe they could see this storm coming, but they could have just paid him the money they gave to Bryce Huff. That's no excuse. They could have paid this man. They just chose not to. And he wanted more than Bryce Huff got. I'll admit that. But they could have taken that money they gave Bryce Huff and added some more to it to keep one of the best pass rushers and one of the guys that was a real difference maker on their defense in the fold for the next 2 to 3 years, but they decided to go in a different direction. Josina Anderson is saying that if he's traded within the NFC, like this was a part of the deal, if the Jets were to trade him again inside the division or inside the conference, the NFC, that they would receive a second-round pick. I'm assuming the deal was for a 6th rounder, I think, initially. 6 or something to that effect. A 2025 6th round pick, I believe it was. Maybe that changes to a second if he's traded inside the conference. Like the Eagles don't want to deal with this dude. So that I think that's a deterrent for the Jets to trade him to an NFC team. Because if I'm Detroit with the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, I'm interested. I'm listening. I'm interested. I'm checking the pulse of the situation and seeing what he would be interested in, right? Because they have Super Bowl aspirations. Losing Aiden O'Connell is a massive hit to that. You get a guy like Hassan Reddick and insert him into that team, and you're right back where you were prior to Aiden Hutchinson going down. If I'm Detroit, I'm listening. If you're Washington, you should be listening too, and you should be taking notes and seeing what's going on here and just checking the scene. You know, there's a quiet deal that happened yesterday that a lot of you probably didn't even notice. You didn't even blink. I would have taken this guy in a heartbeat. Knowing that Jonathan Allen was done for the season, Roy Robertson Harris was traded from Jacksonville to Seattle for a 6th round pick. He's not making a ton of money. I don't know how many years left. I don't care how many years are left on his deal. I would have traded, and I don't think somebody said we don't have a 6th round pick, and that may be true. I'd have given him a 5th round pick for Roy Robertson Harrison. He's really good. He would have fit in so perfectly here. He's a damn good defensive tackle. Very disruptive. And Seattle got him for a song. They got him for a song. I would have traded for him in a heartbeat. And those are the types of deals right now that can be had for teams like Jacksonville who might be selling because their shit is over. That's the kind of deal we should be looking for. That's the shit I'm looking to go to somebody's yard sale. Oh, you giving shit away? 6th round pick, you say? Yeah, I'll take that. That's the shit I'm looking for. That's what you should be looking for. Not all y'all keep talking about these big ass names. Those deals aren't happening. That's the type of shit you should be on. Roy Robertson Harris got traded for a 6th round pick. That's an impactful player. That's the type of shit we should be on. We'll see what else is happening around the league, man. My antennas are up, though. There'll be some more teams after week 7 who lose, who realize this shit is over, and they're looking to offload some of their cargo. Hey, Chef P will be picking up the phone. But this Jonathan Allen injury changes things. Yeah, we got Johnny Newton, and that's cool. I would have rather had Roy Robertson Harris, though, starting and let Johnny come off the bench like he been doing. Hey, Fadarian Mathis is cool. He ain't it, though. So I'm going to keep my ears to the street, see what's going on. But, man, there's some teams out here who realizing, yeah, this shit is over already. Like Jacksonville. They got some solid players over there. If they willing to give some shit away, take notes. Let's go around the NFC East real quick. So I'm not going to kind of belabor the point. Everybody in the division lost this week with the exception of Philadelphia. So the Commanders are 4-2, still in sole possession of first place. The Eagles are just a half game back now at 3-2 after their win 20-16 over the Browns. Cowboys are now 3-3 with their utter destruction, or them getting destroyed rather. The Lions' utter destruction of the Dallas Cowboys, 47-9. Jerry Jones had a damn near meltdown After the game, he does a press conference. What an idiot. He does a press conference after every single game. It's because it's all about Jerry, right? It's all about Jerry. This is why I love him. And I said we protect the Jones family at all costs because it's always about him. And so after the game, he was talking to reporters, and the reporter was like, hey, you wish you would have done more after this offseason, all in. They're going to keep bringing up that all in shit. Jerry, he did this to himself. You can't say all in and then do the things you did this offseason. Derrick Henry would have come to Dallas if you would have just tossed him a couple dollars. What did he sign for? $12 million? 2 years, $12 million? You couldn't afford a $6 million contract? Derrick Henry wanted to come to Dallas. He wanted to come to Dallas. And you didn't want him. That's on you. You could have went to one of the veterans, couple of the veterans on the team and say, hey, we trying to get Derrick Henry. We trying to win a Super Bowl. We want to restructure you. You don't think that Zach Martin for the 15th time would have restructured his contract? You don't think you could have gone to one of the veterans on the team that you already given a deal to and say, hey, man, we trying to win. I'll give you some upfront money, backload some of this stuff, push your base salary down a little bit so we can go out here and get Derrick Henry. You think they wouldn't have done that? You chose not to do it. And then so they asked him about Mike McCarthy. Is he on the hot seat? He said, what do you think? I'm an idiot? Think I'm going to answer that question? Huh? He got real defensive. Then today, right? I guess he was on, because he does a radio program every Monday. Again, it's all about Jerry. It's all about Jerry. If it's not him, it's his son Steven on somebody's radio program. What else? I don't know. I don't follow all 32 teams in the NFL, so I can't tell you how many owners or their sons, who are also owners, go on a radio program every week to discuss the health of their organization and what just transpired the past weekend. Like, who else is doing? I don't know how many other owners are doing that. But again, it's always all about Jerry, which is why they'll never win in Dallas. And I love it. And he goes on this program and he gets defensive when they ask him about being all in, and he's like talking about their situation. And matter of fact, I got the tweet right here. Several people have sent it to me, including Miss P. Shout out to Miss P. So here is nope, it's not here. Miss P didn't send it to me, but she sent me everything, so thought it was her, but it was somebody else. Let me find it. Not here. Here it is. Shout out to Cuz Ruckus, who sent me this one. This is from John Machada, who is one of the beat reporters that cover the Cowboys. He tweeted this out. He said, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan was about as fired up as I've ever heard him during one of his weekly radio interviews. He was very defensive when asked about not making more moves in the offseason. Quote, this is Jerry Jones speaking here. Quote, this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding. So he's threatening to either fire this dude or have him removed from this particular segment so that Jerry doesn't get these type of hardball questions. He wants the softball lob questions that he can knock out of the park, right? Because shit's not going well. So now all of a sudden you can't ask me tough questions that deserve to be asked. I didn't bring you on this program. If you're going to do this, I didn't bring you up here for you to bullshit the fans. You do enough of that. I came up here to ask the real tough shit that everybody wants to hear because this shit ain't good enough. You just lost 47-9. 3 straight games at home. You've been devoured. 4 straight if you go back to the playoff game against the Packers. You've been devoured at home and embarrassed in front of your home fans. This shit ain't good enough. You want me to ask you softball questions, though? He says, I'm not kidding. You're not going to figure it out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you need to come in this NFL meeting I'm going to today with 32 teams here. You're geniuses. Quote, this is Jerry continuing. You really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong without going over the rights. Listen, we both know we're talking to a lot of great fans, a lot of great listeners, and I'm very sorry for what happened out there on Sunday. I'm sick about what happened on Sunday. One of the stupidest things I've ever done that anybody had ever analyzed was by the Cowboys. It was an idiot that did that. So idiot things can turn into good decisions. Smart things can turn into bad decisions. The facts are that when you make one, you really don't know if it's going to be the good or not at the time. You want some conversation this morning, you're getting it. Close quote. He's losing his shit. He turned 82 and he's losing his shit. And he's starting to get to him. The ass whoopings are starting to mount up, and the pressure that the fans are starting to apply is starting to get to him. Here's the problem. There's always going to be some idiot Cowboys fan out there, much like there was here in Washington. I get because fans, short for fanatic, that are going to continue to support, continue to buy all the merchandise, continue to scream, "How about them Cowboys?" and show up at AT&T Stadium despite them getting their brains bashed in every other week. They're still going to show up, and he knows it, and so he can continue his clown behavior because he's going to be allowed to continue the circus. So I love it, though. Again, expectations are changing, okay? He's out arguing with some Joe Schmo on the radio about him not knowing how to run the Cowboys organization better than him. And if you don't quit asking me these types of questions, I'm going to get somebody else to ask me the questions. That's the shit that's going on in Dallas on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Isn't this lovely? Isn't this shit lovely? This is what I'm referring to. Expectations have changed, right? And then the Giants are the Giants, right? 17-7, had every opportunity to win on Sunday Night Football, get back to 500. Do you know that the Giants have not been at or above 500, minus the start to the season when everybody's 0-0. The Giants haven't been at or above 500 in over a year. Oh, you gotta love the Giants. They had a shot. It was right there. They had a chance to have momentum in a 2-game win streak, getting Malik Neighbors back for this massive Eagles showdown this week. Saquon Barkley returning to New York, and they blew it. They scored, 7 whole points. That doesn't mean, however, that they're not capable of beating the Eagles this week. That'll be fun watching those two. And the beauty is, we play at 4:05 this week, so I get to watch Giants-Eagles on one television all by themselves and watch them beat the hell out of each other and hopefully see the Giants make it 2 straight against the Eagles. Being that they beat them at the end of last year when the Eagles were still playing for something gives the Giants confidence that, hey, we can beat these bums. That'll be fun to watch. The Cowboys are on their bye week this week, so they get to lick their wounds. They come off the bye, and guess who they have? The San Francisco 49ers. That should be fun, right? And then after that, I think they have the Houston Texans. They're cooked, is what they are. They're finished. But we'll see, because the 49ers haven't been themselves this season. We'll see if they can get their shit together, but I still think they're better than the Dallas Cowboys, and they should be able to win that game. But we'll see what happens, right? That's what this is all about. But the Eagles have the Giants this week. They squeaked by the Cleveland Browns 20-16. The Browns are awful, and they didn't even score an offensive touchdown in the game, and they still had the Eagles on the ropes. Dustin Hopkins missed a field goal that would have given the Browns the lead early in the second half. And throughout all of this, I never thought the Eagles were going to lose this game because the Browns are that bad. However, the fact that they needed all of the things that went in their favor to go in their favor for them to win this game just goes to show you that, and they lost Jordan Mailata, I may add, just goes to show you that this team is in trouble. And they're poorly coached. And their head coach is spiraling, He doesn't have the confidence he had back in 2022. When he was putting on chains and shit in the locker room after games and shit was all sweet. He understands the heat that he's under. And he knows if shit doesn't go well this year, he's fired. He almost got fired last year. There are expectations in Philadelphia, and if they aren't met, he's going to be fired. And as I mentioned, the expectations are changing. It used to be, hey, let's blow these clowns out in Philadelphia. Now it's, hey, let's just find a way to win. I love it. Here's what I'll say about Philadelphia, though. A.J. Brown makes a massive difference. He was outstanding in the game. We already know Devontae Smith as well makes a massive difference. He was huge in the victory. And as long as they have those two, Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert got injured, and I think he hurt his hamstring, and I don't know the severity of that hamstring injury, but when Goddard doesn't play, usually they don't win. That's a real thing. Their record without Dallas Goedert is horrendous. But we'll see. Again, we'll see what happens with Philadelphia. I'm not blown away by what I'm seeing from them. But their schedule is conducive to them winning if they play the kind of football they're capable of playing. But again, nothing's guaranteed to them. They got the Giants this week, and then they got Cincinnati on the road next week. They could lose both of those games. I don't think they will. Ultimately, they'll probably lose one of the two, more likely than not, to Cincinnati, if I had to guess. But I won't count out the Giants. Shit's changing. Balance of power is shifting. Could you imagine if they lose to the Giants and the Eagles are 3-3, the Giants are 3-4, and the Cowboys are 3-3? Could you imagine? We win, we go to 5-1, and now we have a full 2-game lead, game and a half, over the Cowboys and the Eagles in particular. But could you imagine? Stranger things have happened. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Expectations are changing. Once upon a time, Giants don't stand a chance against the Eagles. Giants don't stand a chance against the Cowboys. Giants almost beat Dallas. They got outscored 217-3 last year against Dallas, did the Giants. They lost by 5 points and had a plethora of drops and missed opportunities in that game. They lost by 5 points to the Cowboys. This used to be pure dominance. Eagles dominate the Giants. There's nothing to talk about. This should be an easy blowout victory. Expectations have changed. Not so sure about that anymore. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow. We'll shift our attention to the Carolina Panthers. We'll hear from DQ tomorrow. We'll hear from JD5. We'll take a look at the film tonight. If you're a member of the MOBB, dig into that. See the things we did well, see the things we didn't do well, and then move on to the Carolina Panthers and put a bow on this loss to the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll do that tonight if you're a member of the mob. But we'll be live tomorrow night talking about this team, talking about turning the page and trying to get back on track versus a 1-5 Carolina Panthers team that is very, very much dangerous. That's a live dog over there, or in this case, a live cat. And they scratch and they bite, and if you're not careful, you can get got. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But I digress. You guys tell me what you think. Have the expectations changed for you? Because they're changing all around us. Mine have changed. What says you? Leave it down in the comment section. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold.